Harry Neuman, age 75. I live in Penland, PA, outside suburb of Philadelphia.
Uh, great to see you, Harry. Good. We get some time together, and let's start off. Maybe I ask you, how did you know? When did you first find out that there was such a thing as death? Where did you learn?
Well, I discovered,
Where did you learn that there was such a thing?
well, when I was 8 years old, I realized that my mother was not able to function as an appropriate mother. And I went looking for another family. My father was always working. My mother was involved with her life and not really available. So I went to my best friend's house and I trusted and loved his mother, and she was the mother that I wanted. And when I was 14, after 3 months of her dealing with stomach cancer, she died. And I played hooky
Who
from
died?
ninth grade.
Wait. Who died? Your mom or the woman you kind
Now,
of?
the woman that I wanted for my mother,
She died.
she died. Lillian Brodsky, she died. And I had spent the last 3 months of her life at her bedside,
Wow.
not knowing that she was dying. All I knew was I didn't want to be in school. I wanted to be at her bedside. And that's what I did. And that's where I really learned what it was like to sit and be with someone. I later learned at the end of their lives. And
When you were 14?
I was 14. Yeah, I was 14.
Wow, that's quite a powerful experience and time in your life to be right there with death and dying at the age of 14. I'm sure that has shaped you, and I'm sure you know that.
Well, I do. And there have been some other moments that have shaped me as well. Um, 14 years ago, this October, my son died. And one day he was living in China. He was born in Scotland. And he died in China at the age of 35. And 14 years later, I'm still in the mystery of how, when, where, and the circumstances of his death.
You
So,
don't you don't know you don't know how your son died?
no, I don't. I don't. I know what I was told by the Chinese, and I don't really believe anything they've told me. And
Why
so,
why
what
do
I
you
had,
think why do you think he died?
why do I think he died? Well, I've spoken to three different intuitives, and actually, I spoke to one on Maui, an Israeli woman. And when I got to see her, she said, I understand you have a question about your son. What is it? And I said, I want to know where my son is. And then she asked me about if I had any other children and if they had children. And when I mentioned I had grandchildren who at the time were 3 and 5, she looked at me and smiled and said, look no further. Where's your son? Look at your grandchildren. But the first woman I went to told me that after a series of questions about Aaron and his life that I could never imagine she could know, um, looked at me and she said, you know, you really don't, is it right that you really don't know how your son died? And I said, that's true. And then she said to me, your son was murdered. And she said it like, you know, today's Tuesday, it's the 28th of July. She did it with a love and a compassion and an honesty, I believe, that was unique. And I paid her for an hour of her time, but after about 22 minutes, after hearing that, I got up, I looked at her and I thanked her and I left. So, you know, they write books about ambiguous loss, and I could probably write another one. It's been 14 years, and the mystery continues. The mystery continues.
Wow.
So
That's
living with don't know is a very big challenge. And then, of course, I became the person who I've been, you know, of the persons who I've been working with for 32 years now. bereaved parents. So I've had quite a bit of experience dealing with bereaved parents, bereaved children. For 20 years at my hospital, I started a grieving center for children. We've worked with thousands of children, 5 to 25, who have lost a parent or lost a parent. And if you're 5 years old and your dad died, you sit in a circle with 11 other boys and girls who are also bereaved kids. And we do our work together. We come together because we need each other. And I make it very, very clear that we need each other.
When you say,
And what,
when you say we do that work together, what give what does that look like a little bit? What happens when you guys all do your work together?
well, what we do is we talk about we talk about everything that's going on in these kids' lives and the challenges. So, we might start with, a check-in and sharing the feelings that you bring to circle tonight. And then I may pass out a sheet with 25 different faces on it with one word underneath describing a feeling and ask them to choose 3 feelings that are dominant right now. And let's talk about how you feel and why you feel it and what's going on. And these kids, it's a rotating group. So kids come and go. Some kids spend months, some kids spend years. And there was a boy who had spent 3 years in my circle. And there was a waiting list for that age group. And his mom said, John, there's a waiting list for this circle. I think it's time to go. I think it's time for us to go. She sat with parents, he sat with other kids. And he said, Mom, I don't ever want to leave Safe Harbor.
Wow.
And
Wow.
she said, why? You got what you got. It's time to go. He said, this is the only place where I feel normal. So being with other kids, sharing with other kids in a transparent way, we create a sense of safety that is unique and special for these kids. And they love coming. They love coming. They love communicating with each other, week to week and sharing their challenges. So we talk about challenges and we talk about accomplishments, so we haven't seen you in a week. So, what are they and what do they look like and how's it going? And by the way, are there any signs this week from your dad or from your mom? Oh, my dad's watching. My mom's watching. They're watching everything. So it's been a place where once again, I've been able to put my grief. 33 years ago, my sister from another mother died. And I was supposed to be an actor and studied in New York, Chicago, Paris. But after the time with this woman who was my sister from another mother, the day that she died, her husband called me and said, today's the day if you want to be here. And I said, I'm on my way. And I sat with Joan's husband, her 3 kids, her favorite aunt, and we watched her take her last breath. And I vowed to her 3 children who were teenagers at the time that I had, after spending 6 months with their mom every day, that I was going to change my life and the direction of my life, and that I was going to become a grief counselor. And I was going to go back to school, and whatever it took, that's what I was going to do. And I spent 7 years working on that certification and giving it my all. And put my hand on a rock and said, I'm a grief counselor, and opened an office and had an office for almost 30 years. And it's been an amazing journey. So much of it has come through my connection with you from the Mankind Project. So I have been an elder in the Mankind Project for 32 years.
Wow. Wow.
And one of the gifts of being an elder in my community is that when someone dies, when someone's sick, when someone's in the hospital, when someone needs an ear, I'm also a listener. I invented that. I'm going to trademark it, actually.
What are you going to trademark?
The word listener, the listener. And So I'm a listener at the hospital. I make support calls to the 120 people that are living with a loved one in hospice, 20 in the hospital in the hospital hospice unit, and another 100 people in the community. I'm also in a food co-op with 3 stores. It's been around for 50 years. We have 300 staff people, full-time, part-time. And if anybody has an issue around death, dying, concern around family, whatever, I get a phone call.
You're the co-op official listener.
I'm the co-op, yes. And I'm also a listener at the hospital too.
You know what that reminds me of, Harry, is that sometimes when we're in circle with people, somebody, sometimes me, but somebody is called the keeper of the heart, and
Yeah,
that's the role they are playing, and they need to stay on. And it's important for the rest of us to know that there's someone holding keeper of the heart space to
yeah.
help us, right? So
So,
that reminds me of that, the listener. Beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful.
So I started being a listener with Mariah Fenton Gladys. And Mariah Fenton Gladys is a woman who, 30, well, she's been gone now a year and a half. So um, for 37 years, she lived with ALS. And when she was diagnosed at the age of, in her mid 30s, she was given a 10% chance of living 6 months to 2 years. She lived for 37 years, and I studied with her for 3 years. We studied Gestalt together, and I got to be a helper with her. And one of the highlights of my life was a 10-day period at Esalen a couple of years ago. And I went with she and her husband in a wheelchair, as usual, with her tongue that's atrophied, and some people to support her. And I was the keeper of the heart for all those people for that 10 days. So my job for 10 days was, when I saw someone lift their, lower their head, I saw a teardrop from an eye, I saw a look that I thought was disturbed, they were disturbed in some way. I made a note of it and found a way to connect with that person, either during or after the session, and might have lunch with that person, might take a walk with that person. That was one of the greatest gifts of my life, to be there with her, to support her, the love she's been teaching. She was taught there for 25 years, twice a year in a wheelchair, and an amazing human being. She is the Stephen Hawking of the United States. And I've been raising money for the last 5 years for a film about her life and her work. Initially, it was going to be called Unconditional Hope. And I'm wearing a band on my wrist that says Unconditional Hope. And I wear this every day. I never take it off. And it's part of my body. And it's a gift from Mariah. Unconditional Hope.
Hey,
And I'm living.
Harry, what's the link? Tell us the link of how to find more information if people want to donate to that.
Well, yeah, it's the Maria Gladys Foundation, and this is a movie that we're trying to pull off, and we need money to do it.
Beautiful.
I've seen lots of different pieces from it. It's absolutely breathtaking. It is like nothing else I've ever seen, and I'm a movie buff, and certainly, I've been around this work for a long time. It's something that really needs to happen, and I've been giving it my love and support, and will continue to do that. Mariah's death a year ago, last July, was very challenging for her family and her children, her 2 boys that she wasn't supposed to have. But I'm going to send you a piece that my partner Phyllis Redmond, wrote about Mariah and Ron. It's 1 page, but it really tells the story of 2 people who are just amazing human beings, and to be able to live with this kind of radical uncertainty and this kind of a death threat. Everything that she was told, she did the opposite. They told her not to exercise, not to take supplements, not to do this, and not to get pregnant, not to have children. She has 2 beautiful boys. One of them who's a film.
You said Maria Gladys Foundation.
Mariah, Mariah. I'll send you the link. I'll send you the
But
link.
no, but say it, spell it out right now.
Mariah, Mariah, Fenton, Fenton, Gladys, Gladis. And it's the
Foundation.
Mariah Fenton Gladys Foundation.
Thank you. Hey, but let's
Yeah.
go back. I want to go back because one of the most powerful parts of our conversation is that you took some of the most difficult experiences of your life and turned it into how you help people who have experienced similar experiences. And I think that's a powerful story, Harry, and that's a that's a role model story in my world because some people have the most difficult, most painful experience, and shrivel up because they're afraid of getting hurt that deeply ever again. And I can understand, I can understand those feelings and that sentiment and that wish to not feel that much pain and not suffer that deeply. And yet, then you run across people like you, Harry, that take that and it be a springboard somehow, not intentional. Maybe it just kind of happened on its own to turn you into someone that wanted to help people in similar situations. And that's a powerful story, Harry.
Well, thank you. I had my time in my rabbit hole, and
No doubt, no doubt,
yeah,
no
yeah.
doubt.
So,
Yeah, even the part of you, excuse me, you actually expressed as a part of you that still is right there in that not knowing, especially with the ambiguous part. So I get that.
yeah. Well, I'm trying to integrate some of what I've learned into our current situation with COVID and this radical uncertainty that we're all living with. Um, yeah. So, to in a nutshell, to speak to that piece that you're talking about, for me, it's been a choice to choose bitter or better. And I remember a time when Phyllis and I were living together. We've just celebrated 10 years together. We went to high school together. We came together at a funeral. She's in the Woman Within, which is the sister organization to the Mankind Project. Um, so, you know, choosing better and doing the work. And I remember a piece of work I did with Mariah. And she said, so I started to work with her where there were 30 people witnessing. And she said, so what's important now, Harry? And I said to her, I'm in a sea of grief. I'm in a sea of grief. And she said, tell me more. And I started to talk about Aaron. And I said, for the last 3 years, I've made up a story that if I let anyone see the pain I was in, one of two things would happen. I would either drown in my own tears because I'm in a sea of grief, or I would have a psychotic break if I let anyone see my pain. And what she did with me, for me, around me, with the help of this community, with the help of her wisdom, of her magic, of her gestalt, her psychodrama, her music, is that she asked someone to play Aaron and had us walk toward each other. And what I didn't know was this man who was playing Aaron was estranged from his father. So we're walking toward each other and she's giving us prompts. And at some point we didn't need prompts anymore. And we started walking toward each other and we got within about 66 inches from each other's faces. And then we just got closer and then we just embraced. And the two of us almost simultaneously began to sob. And I probably sobbed for about I don't even know. It seemed like an endless amount of time. But after that sob and after that let go and after that release and after that much love and that infusion of love that I received from her and that community, I could literally feel my heart open again. And that was 7 years ago, Bodhi. And my heart, with all the shit that's going on right now and all the madness in Washington and all the dysfunction, my job is to keep my heart open in hell realm. And I work at it every day, keeping my heart open, because I want to be the keeper of the heart. I want to be the person who gets the call. You know, one of the gifts you gave me was when I came home 3 years ago, I said to my hospital, I want to work with someone. I was thinking about 90 hours. Well, meanwhile, I had just gotten my pin, my service pin for 2,000 hours at the bedside. And now you're saying, okay, well, if you want to do the certification, you need 90 hours. So I said to the hospital, can you find someone who has more time than less? And she said, I think I have the perfect family for you. So I spent from the day I came home to this day, which is over 3 years, working with the same family. And I spent 29 Mondays with Marvin. 29 Mondays with Marvin, which is more than 6 months. And it's unheard of in the death trade. It's unheard of for any hospice volunteer, hospice counselor to spend 29 Mondays with anyone for any reason.
That's better than Tuesdays with Maury.
Yeah, Mondays, 29 Mondays with Marvin. So what did I do? I walked in the door. I felt at home. I was welcomed like I was family. And I sat down with this man and I said, so tell me what you need, what you want from this time together. He said, well, I want story time. I want to tell you stories and I want you to listen. And then you're going to tell me a story and I'm going to listen. So I said to him, okay, Marvin, let's start. So I'm going to ask you, so I said to him, tell me what you love. Tell me what you're passionate about. And he said, well, one of the greatest joys in my life, and he was 91 years old, is I got a chance to be the docent at a very special synagogue outside of Philadelphia that Frank Lloyd Wright designed. It's called Beth Shalom, and it's in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania. And it's on the National Registry right now. So people come from all over the world. This synagogue is glass and concrete. So imagine a building that looks like Mount Sinai, and that's this building, okay? People come from all over the world. And I said, so what's your connection with Beth Shalom? He says, well, I'm a member for decades. He said, but I'm the docent. I said, you're the docent of Beth Shalom Synagogue?
Better tell us what that is.
Well, he's the person who, he's like the curator. He's like the guy that tells you all about the history of this place, okay? So he's the keeper of the knowledge. He's the keeper of the history, and he's the guy that's going to share this with all these people who are coming from all over the world. And I said to him, so I guess you knew Rabbi Mordecai Cohen. He goes, oh yes, we were very, very close. He said, well, he bar mitzvahed me in 1957. I said, but my grandfather hired him. He goes, what? I said, my grandfather, Harry Neuman, my namesake, who was Herschel Nachmanovich, when he came here from Kiev, and became Harry Neuman when we got off the boat. This is his legacy, okay? And it just got better from there. It only got better. So 29 Mondays later, Marvin dies. There's an exquisite service for him that I'm a part of. We went out for a luncheon, and his children, when we had lunch, wanted me to sit next to their mom, the widow of 67 years minus 1 day, on the right side of her. And on the left side of her was her best female friend, to give you a sense of how much we connected in those 29 Mondays. So fast forward 6 months, her son dies. Her younger son in his mid-50s, who had been in remission with cancer for 3 years, and in 3 weeks from a recurrence, he was gone. This was the guy who was the carbon copy of Marvin. So I went from working with someone who was dying and being the hospice counselor to being to working with a bereaved spouse. And I'm sorry, a bereaved parent. Now she and I have that in common. And I have spent the last 2.5 years every week with Cynthia. I see her on Tuesdays for 180 minutes. So we started with COVID. We had a couple of months of phone conversations, and then she said, "I want to take you to a magical place that Marvin and I went to many, many times, to a pond. It's part of this university in the middle of the burbs." So we've been meeting at this pond, and with our masks on and our social distancing, and she makes me a picnic lunch, and we have lunch together, and we talk
Oh,
and we chat.
Harry.
And I love this woman. I love this woman so much. And you see, you made that happen. You created that for me. So um,
No, you did it, Harry.
we did it. We did
Okay.
it. We did it. And I'm full of gratitude. I am so, so full of gratitude. I hung up with her this morning, and I said to Phyllis, "I love Cynthia." She goes, I know you love her." And it's such a very, very special relationship. I feel so blessed and so honored, so honored to be this close to her. Because for me, this work is sacred intimacy. It's sacred. It's so sacred. Um, and
Love
I
that.
remember the time
I
when
love
I
that.
was.
I
I'll
love
stop.
that. No, you don't have to stop. I just wanted to say I love sacred intimacy as two words put together. So thank you.
Yeah, it
Really,
really is. It really is so very, very sacred, amazing. And the more I'm around, um, so I want to tell you a doula story.
okay, but
And
we're coming to the end of our time.
okay, well, before we end, I want you to meet Larry. Okay,
I'm
so
looking.
Larry's my partner. Larry's my partner in crime. Okay, so it's Harry and Larry the llama. So Larry's a hand puppet. And when I work with people who have dementia and people who can't remember their names, Larry is he's the guy that he's the guy who the inviter, and he's the guy who is the listener. He's the great listener. And I tell all the people I work with, you can say anything to Larry. He's like the best, and he can keep a confidence. He's really a quite an amazing dude. So that's Larry. Um,
Larry and Harry.
Larry and Harry. That's it. Because when I got hired from my old acupuncturist of 15 years, his mother-in-law was dying and in hospice, and they wanted a doula guy, and they heard I was doing this work, and they said, "Well, you're going to have an interview, and she has to. You have to make her laugh." And I made her laugh, and then they said, "Well, you have to. She has to reference you when you leave." So I left after my 30-minute, audition, and 2 hours later, I get a text message from my acupuncturist, who's come from Cortez Island in British Columbia to pull this off, and he says, "Guess what? She referenced Harry and Larry." So it's stuck.
Perfect.
Harry and Larry stuck, and he's an entity. I walk into this facility, and people like, "Can we touch Larry? Can Larry say something to us?" And it's all good.
I like it. Very cool,
All
Harry.
good. It's all good.
Very cool. I think we should set up an appointment where I just interview Larry.
Yeah, he's available. He's available.
It's
He's
been
available.
really, this has been really fun and really rich, Harry. And I've really enjoyed our time together. Absolutely beautiful. And thanks for being willing to just let it flow and just speak it out as it came to you. And that's a lot of rich stuff, Harry. Really rich. And You are blessed, and the people you get to be with are blessed. And sacred intimacy, what a beautiful way to hold what it is you do and how you do it. And way to go, Harry.
Thank you, Bodhi. Your love and support means the world to me.
Beautiful. Yeah, tremendous respect and appreciation for what you're doing out there. And would you please send me a short bio, and then I'll introduce this interview to give people a picture of.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to. Be happy to. Yeah, and I'll send you some links, and we'll stay connected. And the other thing before we go, I want to help you too. And I went, you know, Ipuka, you saw the letter I wrote. I'm on board to make calls when it's time to raise money. I'm your guy. I've done it. I've done it. I know how to do it. And there was a gal that kept getting $5,000 increments of gifts, and I said to her, "How do you do it?" She says, "I only call the people that I love." So there are a lot of people I love, a lot of people I trust, and I'll call every friggin' one of them. So know that you have my love and my support. Any way that it works for you, just let me know what I can do, and I'll do it, because I love you. I love your work. I love all of it. And I'm hugely grateful that we have connected and that we're having this conversation right now.
Beautiful. Well, God bless you, and I hope to be with you in person one of these days.
I hope so too. Many blessings.
Thank you, Harry.
Love you. Bye bye.
I love you too. Aloha.
Bye bye. Bye bye.